You're scrolling through your phone and accidentally land on an image of a lotus seed pod. Within half a second, your skin is crawling. You aren't scared of holes. You aren't scared of seeds. So why does your body react like you just looked at something genuinely dangerous? You've probably tried to describe this feeling to someone who doesn't have it. You show them the picture. Maybe it's a honeycomb, a cluster of barnacles, or just a piece of aerated chocolate, and you explain that it makes you feel physically ill. They look at the image, then look back at you, and they laugh. They tell you it's just a plant or a piece of candy. They look at you like you're insane or like you're just being dramatic for attention. But as you stand there, you can feel the bile rising in the back of your throat. Your hands are clammy, your scalp is prickling, and you feel a desperate, frantic need to go wash your skin, as if merely seeing the pattern has somehow contaminated you. You aren't insane. In fact, in the cold, hard logic of survival, the people who don't feel this might be the ones with the broken hardware. They are the ones who are missing a vital piece of the biological blueprint that kept our ancestors alive for millions of years. You are experiencing the Infestation Schema, a high-intensity warning system that was forged in a world where staying clean wasn't a preference. It was a requirement for staying alive. Welcome to Logic Schema. To understand why a cluster of holes can trigger a code-red emergency in your nervous system, we have to look at how ancient humans survived disease in a world with no medicine. For nearly the entire history of our species, we lived in a state of constant, intimate contact with the environment and with each other. We lived in a collective brain where we had no private life. We slept in communal huddles to survive brutal winters. We shared tools, and we moved through the landscape as a single unit. In this world, the greatest threat to your lineage wasn't always a lion or a rival tribe. It was something much smaller. It was the invisible predator, the parasite, the bacteria, and the larvae that could enter your body and eat you from the inside out. Consider the visceral reality of tapeworm larvae, specifically Taenia solium. In a world where ancient humans consumed wild, often undercooked meat, this was a constant threat. If the larvae entered the system, they didn't just stay in the gut. They migrated through the bloodstream to the muscles, the eyes, and even the brain, forming clusters of fluid-filled cysts known as cysticercae. To an observer, these looked like clusters of white circular sacs embedded in the flesh, a literal living pattern of holes that signaled a catastrophic biological failure. Your brain became paranoid because it had to. The brutal accountant inside your head knew that missing these patterns meant a slow, agonizing death from a predator you couldn't even see. Your brain developed two distinct security protocols to handle threats. The first is fear, which is designed for predators. Fear triggers your high-speed dispatcher to dump adrenaline so you can fight or run. But the second is disgust. Disgust is a specialized survival tool designed for pathogens and parasites. While fear tells you to run, disgust tells you to stay away and stay clean. The reason clustered holes trigger disgust rather than fear is that to your ancient hardware, that specific pattern is the visual signature of a system failure in living tissue. It is the signature of an infestation. Imagine you're an ancient human living in a high-density tribe. You spend your days hunting giant animals and your nights huddled together for warmth. In this environment, your primary survival task is to monitor the health of the collective. If one member of the tribe develops a parasitic infection, like botflies or mango worms, the visual result is horrifying. These parasites burrow under the skin and create clusters of small, circular holes from which the larvae eventually emerge. Your recognition engine is hard-coded to identify this specific pattern of clustered, irregular circles. When you see a lotus seed pod, your brain isn't seeing a plant. It is performing a high-speed integrity audit and flagging a match for diseased flesh. It assumes that what you are looking at is a cluster of open sores or an active infestation. The crawling sensation you feel on your own skin is a preemptive defense. Your brain is trying to make you so uncomfortable that you involuntarily scratch or brush your skin, ensuring that whatever parasite you just saw isn't currently burrowing into you. It's a logic of protection that treats a visual signal as a physical threat. In a world where ancient humans had no medicine, the social consequences of such a pattern were devastating. Because there was no private life, an infested individual became a ticking biological bomb for the entire huddle. If the disgust audit of the tribe flagged a member as a hazard, the logic of protection shifted toward the group rather than the individual. The tribe might physically move their entire camp, effectively abandoning the site of infection, and in some cases, exiling the unclean member to ensure the collective brain didn't vanish. To be the person with the holes was to be a social pariah. Your presence was a direct threat to the prehistoric elders and to the children the tribe worked so hard to keep alive. Beyond the threat of parasites, the infestation schema overlaps with our ancient detection systems for venomous creatures. Many of the most lethal animals in the prehistoric world carry high-contrast, clustered patterns as a warning. Take, for example, the blue-ringed octopus. When this creature feels threatened, its skin erupts in dozens of tiny neon blue rings that appear in tight, irregular clusters across its body. This pattern is a biological code red designed to be loud and unmistakable. The mathematical properties of trypophobic images, the specific way the contrast and spacing of the holes are arranged, actually match these visual signatures of lethal animals. When you look at those tiny holes, your brain's low road to the amygdala is slamming the panic button before your conscious mind can even register the object as a flower. It doesn't matter that a lotus pod is harmless. Your brain is the descendant of survivors who didn't wait to check if the patterned thing was a plant or a cobra. They just reacted. This search and destroy protocol for patterns is why the reaction is so instantaneous and so difficult to override with logic. Your hardware would rather you be terrified of 100 harmless plants than ignore a single lethal animal. This isn't a random glitch. It is a vital functional diversity within the ancient tribe. Just as we needed scouts with hypersensitive hearing to watch for predators during the night, we needed health sentinels who were hypersensitive to the visual markers of disease. In a world where a single infection could vanish an entire family line, you needed individuals whose disgust audit was set to the highest possible sensitivity. These individuals were the early warning systems for the group's health. They were the ones who spotted the contaminated water, the parasite-ridden meat, or the first signs of an outbreak in a child. We see these health sentinels in the modern world today, though we often mislabel their biological gifts. Think of the person who refuses to eat a piece of fruit because they spot one microscopic speck of mold that everyone else missed, or the person who physically cannot share a drink because their hardware views it as a systemic risk. They aren't just being fussy or suffering from OCD. They are running premium prehistoric hardware in a modern body. They are the descendants of the sentinels who ensured that ancient humans stayed clean enough to survive. Their hyper-reactive disgust audit was the reason their ancestors didn't die of flesh-eating bacteria while everyone else was busy hunting giant animals. We currently live in the most sterile environment in human history. We have medicine, we have soaps, and we have the ability to stay clean in ways our ancestors could never have imagined. Because we are no longer surrounded by the constant threat of parasitic infestations, our infestation schema is starving for data. It is a high-powered weapon with nothing to shoot at. The modern internet has accidentally discovered this hardware glitch. Digital creators have realized that they can hijack your ancient survival hardware by creating images that have been digitally edited to place clustered hole patterns onto human skin or everyday objects. One of the most famous examples was a viral image of a human hand with lotus seed holes photoshopped into the palm. It spread like wildfire because it triggered an ancient tribe warning instinct. When your brain sees that pattern on a human body, it doesn't think it's a fake. It thinks biological breach. You feel a desperate need to share it or talk about it because your software is trying to warn the rest of the collective brain about an active outbreak. The internet hasn't created a new phobia. It has simply found a way to ping a 2-million-year-old alarm system that was never meant to see a high-definition screen. The infestation schema is a reminder that we are all walking through a world of glass and silicon with the minds of ancient survivors. We are the descendants of the most cautious, the most disgusted, and the most hyper-aware humans to ever walk the earth. Our brains are not built for a quiet life. They are built for a world where staying clean was a daily battle for survival. The sentinel in your head is an inheritance millions of years in the making, a gift from the billions of individuals who felt disgusted so that you could be born healthy. Subscribe to Logic Schema as we decode the human blueprint, one glitch at a time. You aren't looking at a plant. You're looking at a memory of something that used to live inside us.